Hello folks. I don't like this when they don't give you a countdown. You never know when you're actually live. I guess it's instant. Anyway, hi everybody, this is Mike from Mike's Magic Resto Detailing and Paint Enhancement here in what was a sunny day in Sharpsburg, Georgia, but I understand some pretty severe storms are rolling in. Oh well, that's okay, that's okay. Here in my shop with my newest project. I just turned the AC on. I can't rotate my device. There we go. Sure I can. As you can see, the temperature is 88 in here. That's rather warm. I think the humidity right now is relatively okay, but I need to bring that down to about 80 degrees or a little less so my products and my equipment will work properly within the manufacturer's recommended specifications. But anyway, as some of you might have saw my photos earlier, this is the new project. Oh boy. Customer, the owner of this vehicle, which is a 2007 Corvette Z something or other, I don't know. And this is some kind of orange. Atomic orange, that's what they call it. Folks, I don't know about y'all. I have never seen a car this color, much less a Corvette. And I looked at a little article. There weren't that many of them that year. I think this is a one-year color that were painted this color, much less this color and a convertible. So I guess it's a relatively rare Corvette. Maybe some of you vet people out there can tell me. Anyway, he's a buddy of the guy that owns the Viper and the 41 Ford we just sent out of here. So he decided he wanted us to do his Corvette. Yeah. So I just spent quite a bit of time going over this paint inch by inch by inch, trying to identify and mark the more glaring defects in this paint, which they're not very bad and they're really not that many. This is probably one of the best, if not the best, maintained vehicle of this age that I've had so far. This guy's taking really good care of this car and this paint. As he should. But some of you might see what I did is I went around the car going over it, and some of the more glaring defects that I noticed I marked with detailer's tape, and we'll take a look at some of those in just a minute. But I will have to do this again because I have done nothing to this vehicle yet except this, basically. And he keeps what appears to be a relatively good coat of retail level wax on this vehicle, which has some filling capabilities. So a lot, or a good many of the defects and scratches right now are filled in and really hard to see, almost invisible. Now, once I get this paint stripped down, I'll strip wash it, then I'll check it and see if I need to decontaminate it, which I don't think most of it I'm going to need to. Some of that down low area I probably will, because I noticed a lot of, not a lot, but tar and other kind of stuff from like there down to the bottom. As you might imagine, gets slung back on the body from the tires. Tires and wheels, he has maintained very well. If they need any attention at all, it'll be minimal. But like I say, I mean, and this paint right now is very slick, very, very slick from whatever protection he has put on there. He told me he waxes it, so it's doing very well. And this car, probably the best maintained car I've had in here, but there are still some defects. Yeah, let me take my hat off and whoop, let's see, my hat won't even stay up there. One of the tools of the trade, a head-mounted inspection light, which I use a lot when I'm working, when I'm inspecting and all that. And somewhere around here I've got my handheld, much more powerful inspection light. Got my little pointer here. And as you might imagine, there is some, I don't know if I'll be able to get it to pick up on camera here. There are some micro-marring in this paint. Some places it's worse than others. There's some paint nibs in there. I don't know if y'all can see those. That'll be from the factory. They're not awful. But up here I've marked off something. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. Look, it's a little scratch right there. That's relatively deep. Let's see if I can catch it in that light. There we go. I think you can see it now. It's relatively deep. My fingernail will catch on it, but I think I might be able to make that go okay. And there's typical micro-marring throughout the whole vehicle from washing it. And it's almost impossible not to do that, no matter what method you use, no matter what process you use, it's going to do that sometimes. And I marked the emblem down here. I don't know if y'all can see that right there, that damage. Looks like somebody was buffing on it and did not tape off this emblem. See that right there? That looks like buffer damage to me. Nothing I can do about that. Some little bug splattering stuff on the front end. And you got your typical little pits in the paint, that kind of stuff on the front end. Because as you all know, it gets hammered anytime you drive it down the road. And I think it's about an hour trip down here from his house to mine. Look, see, I've got a piece, see that tape there? What that is telling me, it's pointing this way. I don't know if y'all gonna be able to pick it up. I think my photographs did a better job. I can't pin it down here. But there's all kind of scratching in there. And micro-marring. I don't know if y'all are picking that up or not. I can't really tell what y'all are seeing. There we go. I think we're picking up some of it. But it's not terrible, 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 but it will have to be addressed. Piece of tape. This isn't going to be this is a boring video, y'all. It's even kind of sort of boring me. But here we go. It's just some micro-marring and scratching there. And for some reason, like out here, it's not bad, but the closer you get to the edge, the worse it is. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. Having difficulty getting my lighting just right here. I think you can pick up on some of it that way. See all that? All the way down. It's about 2 to 3 inches away from the edge of the hood here. Pretty much runs the whole length of the hood. Why it's not as bad out there as over here, I'm not sure. There's some scratching right there. I think y'all can pick that up. And it pretty much goes from there all the way over in this little triangle here. Again, I'm not real sure. And these areas here have a fair amount of micro-marring in it. I think you can pick that up. I think possibly because somebody was using the wrong size buffer and just couldn't get it out. I'm not sure. And see those 2 pieces of tape there? There is a scratch and some scratching that runs from here over to here. Don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to show up because it's hard to see. I'm not sure if y'all are seeing it, but it should come out. A little scratching on the mirrors, as you might expect. I've marked some, I think that's marking some touch-up paint spots there on the door. And the further down you go, the worse it is. I think for two reasons, because this gets a lot of stuff slung up on it from driving down the roadway, and on these vettes it's so far down it's kind of hard to work it, so a lot of people tend to neglect it to some degree. And I found a lot more micro-marring on spaces like this, because there, once again, a lot of people only have one buffer, and it's usually a 5, 6, 8 inch, something like that. And I'm going to have to go down to a 3 inch for this part, and on this part down to a 1 inch, till you get to about right here. Then I could use probably a 3 inch, and I'll have to use a 3 inch because it's so curvy. If you try a 5 inch, yeah, you could get away with it, but you're not going to do as good a job where this curve is the highest. I guess that's the right word. Then we got this back here. I'm going to have to be very careful with this, because while I'm working on this, whatever you call this area right here, and there's a scratch right there that runs from there all the way over to there. Let's see if I can pick that up on camera. It's hard to, this is another page, it's hard to see. Yeah, I think y'all can see that now. Runs from there all the way over to that paint, or to that tape rather. And that tape right there showing another small one. But I'm going to have to be very cautious doing this and doing down here. I'm going to have to cover up all this interior, because I don't want to get buffer sling and compound dust and that sort of thing in the interior of the car from working on that. That's going to be a challenge in and of itself. Some more scratching out of it. This is, and it turned out, you can see it really good in my photograph right there. See that? That is cracking in the paint. That's a factory defect, I'm pretty sure. I don't think any of the owners of this vehicle did anything to cause that. The only way I'm aware that can happen is, this factory paint was at the factory in the paint shop, and they did not fix it. Bastards. I guess they figured nobody would ever see it, and maybe nobody ever has but me. And on this trunk deck, this is the trunk deck, was one of those things he kept bringing up to me. He keeps telling me can't rotate my device. I'm not rotating it. But there is a long scratch or set of scratches that runs from here up to that piece of tape there, and there's some water etching here that's almost impossible to get to. It's very faint. I can't get it to show up on camera. I don't know if I'll be able to show you guys any of this scratching or not, because it's hard to see. Yeah, I think you can see it there, and it travels, kind of scrolls back and forth all the way up to that piece of tape there. It's not terribly deep. It pretty much passes the fingernail test, so it should go away. And down here, this piece around that third light, I forget what you call it. You got this piano black we call it. That stuff is very cheap, very fragile. You can see how scratched it is. It almost always is. Some of that's just a smear where I would put my finger on it and smeared it. This wax he uses, it smears very easily, but that's okay. It did a good job. He kept it on here. See my fingerprints? He kept it on here on a regular basis, and it has done a pretty fair job of protecting his paint from any further damage. Oh well. A lot of micro-marring some of these spaces, particularly these little narrow spaces, because most other detailers won't change buffers or pads or backing plates to do this. They just take the same buffer and try to edge this out, is what I call it. And you can do that, but it's just generally not as effective as dropping down to the proper size buffer, backing plate, and pad. Mainly because not only is it a narrow space, but that's very curvy. It's not flat. So a 5-inch foam pad or whatever you're using and trying to edge it, you're only getting a little bitty spot buffed, and it gumps up the pad very quickly and heats it up very quickly when you do it that way, because the outside of the pad is what is moving the fastest, particularly on a rotary. So when you do that, you run the risk of heating up your clear coat and your pad. And whenever you're buffing on today's clear coats, heat is your enemy. Sometimes in the old days with the old paints before the two-stage, heat was your friend, because you could heat the paint and it would flow. So they tell me. But nowadays, heat is your enemy. So, little dab of touch-up paint there, a few dabs here and there, some on this mirror. Oh well. It happens. You know, they drive this car on the weekends, as I understand it, go different places, so it doesn't sit in the garage all the time. There's a piece of tape down there. So what I'm going to have to do is strip wash this, and I will be able to see more and be able to see better once I've removed all this wax that's on here and all the dust and whatever dirt and road film might be on here. But it is helping to cover up and fill the paint defects. So I won't truly know what I have until after I strip wash it. And then I will have to do this again. I probably won't do the entire car like I just did today, but what I'll do is I'll take a section, like if I decide to start there, I'll go over this section very closely and decide what type of defects I have, how severe they are, and what my plan of attack is. Do a test spot probably up there where I put that tape, see how that works, and see if I need to change pad, buffer, or product. So it's kind of an ongoing experiment, because what you use up there may not necessarily be what you need when you get down here. So in essence, really, just about every section is a test spot if you're going to do paint enhancement at this level. And this car basically is what I call a paint enhancement. It needs very little paint correction, only in certain spots. So we shall see. I'm anxious to get started. Appreciate y'all dropping by, spending a little time with me. This is a cool car, another cool car to work on as far as I am concerned. Yeah, once I get that done back there, that little shelf or whatever it is, I'll have to raise the top and up the windows up. Keep the dust and buffer sling and all that stuff out of there. I have to tape off some of this as I go along. Hey Richard, you always get here right when I'm ending for some reason, Richard. I'm just about done. 2007 Corvette Atomic Orange. I've never seen this color, Rich. Mr. Rex, I've never seen an Atomic Orange Corvette. This is a 2007 Z, whatever it was. I think it says about 500-600 horsepower in the article. I really don't remember. It'll go the speed limit, I know that. But I'm going to get to work. You guys go back and watch the rest of the video. And I still got stuff to do here. Appreciate you. Like, tag, share, follow, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot.